If you told me yesterday that I'd wake up today a criminal, I would have laughed you out of the room. I'm James Calloway, decorated Marine, war hero, and a man who has fought for his country with every ounce of honor left in me. But right now, I'm the FBI's most wanted fugitive. And I don't even know who's hunting me, except that it's my own daughter. The crazy thing is, I don't even recognize my reflection anymore. They took everything, my medals, my identity, my name, stolen right out from under me, twisted into a nightmare I can't escape. My military records, wiped clean, replaced by a dossier of lies that paint me as the mastermind of a sprawling arms smuggling ring. And the person behind it all? Emily. My own flesh and blood. The daughter I raised. The one I trusted with my life. Let me take you back to how this all started. It began with a phone call, a chilling voice telling me my medals had been confiscated by the military police. Confiscated? For what? I hadn't done anything wrong. I was preparing to attend a reunion with my old unit, ready to honor the comrades who didn't come home. Instead, I found myself in a police interrogation room, accused of selling weapons to cartels. Weapons I never touched, weapons I swore I'd never allow to fall into the wrong hands. I tried to explain. The officers laughed. "You're a dead man walking," one said. "The evidence is airtight." But I didn't have evidence, I was the evidence. My own records, my name, my medals, all stolen by someone with access, someone close. That's when I realized it was Emily. Only she had the clearance to access my files. Only she knew the exact places to plant false data. I remember the look in her eyes the last time I saw her, something cold and distant, like the daughter I thought I knew was gone. Now, I'm on the run. Every city, every town, I see my face on every screen, a criminal, a traitor. But I'm not giving up. I'm piecing together a trail of clues, tracing every shadow where she left her lies. I've hacked into police databases, talked to old war buddies, and even broken into government offices. It's dangerous, but I have no choice. I want the world to know the truth. I want justice. And I want my daughter to understand that what she's done is not just a crime against me, but against everything I fought for. But here's the catch, the deeper I dig, the darker it gets. There are people higher up involved, people I never suspected. People who wanted me gone and knew exactly how to use my own family to make it happen. Tonight, I'm setting a trap. I have gathered evidence, enough to blow the lid off this whole operation. I'm going to go live on national TV and expose everything, Emily, the ring, the corrupt officials. But can I trust anyone to get me there? Or is this the final chapter in the story where I disappear forever? Before I go any further, if you're listening to this story, please take a moment to like, share, and subscribe. Stories like mine need to be heard, the truth can only survive when it's not silenced. And one last thing, I want to know, where are you from? Tell me in the comments, because this story isn't just mine. It belongs to everyone who's ever been betrayed by someone they loved. They say the truth will set you free. But right now, the truth feels like a noose tightening around my neck. I'm James Calloway, decorated Marine, framed by the one person I trusted most. After that first phone call, I was certain this was just a twisted joke. But it wasn't. Emily had turned my life into a prison sentence I didn't deserve. The FBI had my face pinned on every wanted poster, and all I had was a fragment of hope and the clothes on my back. The first days on the run were a nightmare. I could feel the eyes, agents, informants, strangers, watching, judging, waiting for me to slip. Every alleyway, every bus station, every diner felt like a trap. I was haunted by the fact that my own daughter was the architect of this betrayal. Why? I kept asking myself. The answer came when I found an old contact, Sarah Donovan, a former intelligence analyst I trusted. She told me the arms ring wasn't just smuggling weapons. It was bigger, deeper, and far more dangerous. Emily wasn't just trying to ruin me. She was a pawn, a key player in a game I was just starting to understand. Sarah handed me a file she'd pulled from her own sources, encrypted messages, surveillance photos, bank transfers. The name, Calloway, kept popping up as a buyer, a broker, a mastermind. But none of it was me. Someone had forged everything. What's worse? The trail led to people inside the government, people with enough power to erase a man's identity and rewrite his entire history. I realized Emily had no choice. She was scared, threatened. But by whom? And how far would they go to keep this secret buried? There was only one way to find out. I needed to confront Emily. But every attempt to reach her was met with silence or threats from unknown callers. I knew I had to find her before she disappeared, or before she did something irreversible. That night, I sat in a rundown motel room, surrounded by maps and files. The weight of betrayal pressed down on me. But I wasn't ready to give up. Not yet. Then the phone rang. No caller ID. My heart stopped. A voice, cold and controlled, "Stop looking for her, James. This isn't just about you anymore. Walk away, or you'll lose everything, including your life." I slammed the phone down. Whoever this was, they underestimated me. I'm still out here, still fighting, and still looking for answers. They say a father knows his daughter, her fears, her dreams, her secrets. But what if the person you trusted most is a stranger hiding a dark secret? That's what I realized about Emily. After that ominous phone call, I knew I had to find her. Not just to clear my name, but to understand what pushed her to betray me. Was she scared? Was she forced? Or worse, was she the mastermind? I reached out to Marcus Reed, an old war buddy who now worked deep undercover in federal law enforcement. If anyone could find Emily without blowing my cover, it was him. Marcus was reluctant but understood the stakes. "James, you're playing a dangerous game. If Emily's mixed up with the arms ring, she's not just a pawn. She could be the queen." With Marcus's help, I tracked Emily's last known location, a small town in Arizona, tucked away like a secret waiting to be uncovered. We didn't have much time. The FBI's net was closing in fast. When I finally saw her, she looked like a ghost of the daughter I once knew. Hollow eyes, jittery hands, and a secret she refused to share. I confronted her in a dimly lit diner, her voice barely a whisper. "Why, Emily? Why turn me into a criminal?" She broke down, tears mixing with rage. "You don't understand, Dad. They have everything on me, my life, my freedom. They threatened Mom. My world shattered again." Emily wasn't just protecting herself, she was protecting my wife, my family. Someone higher up had leveraged her, turned her against me, and used our family as pawns in a deadly game. But who? And how deep did the conspiracy go? Before I could ask more, a shadow loomed behind the diner's window. Two men, suits, cold eyes, watching. The trap was closing. I had to move fast. This isn't just my fight anymore. It's a war for my family, my honor, and my life. When I looked into Emily's eyes, I saw not just fear but a desperate plea, a silent scream to save her family and herself. But I also saw a truth no one expected: the real enemy wasn't just a faceless cartel or corrupt officials. It was someone from inside our own military network. Someone who had everything to gain by destroying me. That night, as Marcus and I dug deeper into the data Emily smuggled out, a name kept appearing: Colonel Adrian Cross. A decorated officer, someone I'd fought alongside years ago, someone I trusted. But trust was a luxury I no longer had. Cross wasn't just involved, he was orchestrating the arms ring, using his position to manipulate the government's eyes and ears. Emily's involvement was forced, a bargaining chip in Cross's ruthless game. I remember the exact moment I realized just how deep the betrayal went. There was a package waiting for me at a drop point, encrypted files, videos, proof that Cross had ordered my setup, forged every document, and threatened my family to keep silent. It was proof that could bring down a pillar of the military elite. But revealing it could also get me killed. As I watched the footage, my phone buzzed, a message from Emily, "They're coming for us. Trust no one." I had no choice but to go public, to expose Cross and the conspiracy, no matter the cost. But first, I needed a safe place, a plan, and allies. The night was silent, but I could feel the storm gathering. The world I thought I knew had crumbled, and the lines between friend and foe blurred into a haze of uncertainty. Colonel Adrian Cross wasn't just an enemy, he was a ghost haunting every step I took. I needed help. Someone with the skills to protect me and the courage to fight back. That's when Marcus introduced me to Lena Ortiz, a former CIA operative with a reputation for uncovering impossible secrets. Quiet, sharp, and relentless, she was exactly who I needed. Lena had her own reasons for taking this case. She'd seen Cross's shadow before and knew the damage he could inflict from inside the system. Together, we began mapping out the conspiracy, but the deeper we dug, the more dangerous it became. Surveillance tightened. Phones tapped. And Emily's warnings echoed louder than ever. Then came the first close call, a dark sedan trailing me through a rain-slicked street, tires squealing as I narrowly escaped a deadly ambush. It was clear, Cross wasn't just playing dirty, he was playing for keeps. Lena and Marcus helped me set up a covert broadcast, a live national TV appearance that could expose everything. But Cross's reach was vast. Trust was scarce. And every second counted. As I stared into the camera that night, knowing my life was on the line, I felt a strange calm. This was my moment, to reclaim my name, my honor, and my family. But would the truth be enough to save me? Or was this the final act in a tragedy I couldn't outrun? The night I went live, my heart pounded like a war drum. Every eye in the country was on me, the man they thought was a criminal, ready to reveal the truth behind the lies. But as the camera rolled, something unexpected happened. Halfway through my exposé, the feed cut out. Black screen. Silence. Panic. Somewhere in the shadows, Cross's reach had struck again, silencing me when I was closest to the truth. The broadcast was hijacked by a fake news segment, one that twisted my words, painted me as the villain, and destroyed the evidence I had so carefully gathered. I was back to square one, hunted, framed, and now more isolated than ever. But Lena and Marcus weren't ready to give up. Behind the scenes, they worked to restore the footage and leak the real story piece by piece. Emily, too, risked everything to send encrypted messages, clues only I could understand. The betrayal cut deeper than ever, but so did my resolve. Cross thought he could break me. He thought he could bury the truth. He was wrong. After the broadcast disaster, everything got darker. The fake news hijacking wasn't just an accident, it was a surgical strike. Someone inside the system had betrayed me. But who? I couldn't trust the military, the FBI, or even parts of the media. The only people I had left were Marcus, Lena, and, painfully, Emily. But even Emily's silence screamed of fear and secrets I hadn't uncovered yet. I spent days holed up in a rundown safe house, piecing together the fragmented clues Emily had sent me in encrypted bursts. It was like trying to solve a puzzle with missing pieces. Every message hinted at a mole inside the military, a person with access and influence who had orchestrated the entire frame-up. The name that kept surfacing was Colonel Jonathan Meyer, a shadowy figure rumored to be Cross's closest ally. But Meyer was smart, he hid in plain sight, presenting a spotless record while pulling strings behind closed doors. That's when Marcus found something chilling, an internal memo, leaked from a whistleblower, that named Meyer as part of a covert task force responsible for neutralizing threats to national security. The task force wasn't about protecting the country, it was about protecting Cross's empire. My stomach churned. This wasn't just a fight for my freedom anymore. This was a war against a corrupt machine that had infiltrated the highest ranks. I decided I had to confront Meyer directly. But how do you face a man who can erase you with a phone call? Lena devised a risky plan. We would bait Meyer by leaking false information about a new weapon shipment. If he took the bait, it would prove his guilt and expose his network. The night we set the trap, my nerves were raw. Every sound, every shadow, felt like an ambush waiting to happen. We waited hours in a safe location, watching monitors and listening for any sign Meyer would bite. Then, just after midnight, it happened. Meyer sent a covert team to intercept the shipment, exactly as we predicted. That was our opening. But the victory was bittersweet. Meyer's men were ruthless. In the crossfire, Marcus was hit. The sight of him bleeding out, coughing up blood, pushed me over the edge. I swore then, no matter the cost, I would finish this fight. For Marcus. For Emily. For every soldier who ever stood by my side. As the chaos unfolded, I realized something even darker. Meyer wasn't acting alone. There was a network, a silent army embedded everywhere. I felt like a man trapped in quicksand, sinking deeper with every step. But I had a choice, sink or fight. Marcus's injury was a wake-up call. The bullet wasn't fatal, but it was close enough to remind me how fragile this fight was, and how deadly the enemy could be. He was resting now, but the stakes had never been higher. The trap had worked. Colonel Jonathan Meyer took the bait. That meant he was real, dangerous, and deeply embedded in the conspiracy. But it also meant the network was starting to crack. Lena and I knew that exposing Meyer alone wouldn't be enough. He was a cog in a bigger machine, one fueled by greed, power, and betrayal. Our next move had to be surgical. Emily's messages had grown more urgent and fragmented. She was scared, not just for herself, but for our entire family. She revealed that Cross and Meyer had eyes everywhere, even inside the intelligence agencies and media. The betrayal wasn't just about arms smuggling, it was a plan to control the military-industrial complex and silence anyone who threatened it. We started tracing financial transactions tied to Meyer's task force. Shell companies, offshore accounts, and shadowy operatives who vanished when questioned. It was a spiderweb of corruption so vast it made my head spin. That's when we discovered something chilling, a list of assets, names of people who'd been targeted for elimination or discrediting. And right at the top was mine. It hit me like a punch to the gut. Meyer wasn't just after me for revenge. He wanted me dead, erased. But why? What threat did I pose to them? I was just a Marine, framed and hunted. Then I remembered the last mission I led before retiring. We had uncovered illegal arms deals linked to some high-ranking officers who'd mysteriously disappeared from records soon after. I had sworn to bring them to justice. That mission had put me on their radar. Now, years later, they were finishing what they started. We needed to act fast. Lena arranged a meeting with a trusted journalist, someone known for fearless reporting on government corruption. His name was David Keller, a man with a reputation for digging where others feared to tread. The meeting was tense. Keller had heard the rumors but needed proof. I handed him the files, the evidence of Meyer's and Cross's crimes, the forged documents, the encrypted communications, the financial trails. "This will blow the lid off everything," Keller said quietly, eyes scanning the data. "But you'll need protection. Once this goes public, they'll come for you hard." I nodded. Protection was a luxury I couldn't afford right now, but I didn't have a choice. As I left the meeting, a cold dread settled over me. I was being watched. Always watched. I returned to the safe house to find Emily waiting, a shadow of strength beneath her fear. "Dad," she said, voice cracking, "they know about Keller. They're moving fast. We have to disappear." I looked at her, my daughter, my betrayer, my only hope. We were running out of time. That night, as we packed what little we could carry, I felt the weight of every lost moment, every betrayal, every hard-fought battle. The fight wasn't just about clearing my name anymore. It was about surviving long enough to see justice. The night we decided to disappear, the weight of every betrayal pressed down on me like a storm ready to break. Emily, Marcus, Lena, and I packed what little we had, evidence, memories, and a desperate hope that we could outrun the nightmare. But running wasn't just about escaping the law or enemies. It was about outrunning the ghosts of my past and the darkness creeping closer every second. We left the safe house under cover of darkness, hearts pounding, knowing each step could be our last free one. The plan was simple: lay low, regroup, and let David Keller release the evidence in a controlled leak. But simple plans rarely survive reality. Before we reached our rendezvous point, the car behind us sped up, blacked out windows, no plates. Myers' men. Lena took the wheel, Marcus leaned out the window, firing warning shots. The chase was a blur, rain-slick roads, screeching tires, and a cold fear that this could be the end. We lost them by sheer luck and skill, hiding in an abandoned warehouse. But the close call shattered any illusion of safety. Emily broke down. They'll never stop. They want to bury us. I pulled her close, fighting my own rising panic. Then we won't let them. The next days were a whirlwind of secrecy and strategy. David Keller's team began releasing fragments of the evidence online, enough to spark public outrage but not enough to blow our cover. But the media firestorm only fueled Meyer and Cross's desperation. Anonymous threats flooded our contacts. Safe houses were compromised. Trust became a currency in short supply. Then came the unthinkable: Marcus disappeared. One moment he was there, the next, gone. The fear that clawed at my gut was suffocating. Meyer was cleaning house, and my friends were paying the price. Lena and I hunted every lead, piecing together Marcus's trail. It led to a remote compound, a fortress where I feared the worst. But I wasn't ready to lose another brother in arms. I called Emily, her voice shaky but fierce. "Dad, we have to move. Now." But I refused. Not without Marcus. I had to make a choice: run and survive, or fight and risk everything. That night, under a blood-red moon, I made my decision. The compound was a fortress wrapped in shadows and silence. Every step I took toward it felt heavier, loaded with memories of battles fought and friends lost. But this was no ordinary fight, this was personal. Marcus wasn't just my war buddy, he was my brother. And I wasn't leaving without him. Lena and I moved cautiously, blending into the darkness. The place was surrounded by armed guards, surveillance cameras, and what looked like a high-tech command center. Whoever ran this had resources, and they weren't afraid to use them. We slipped past the outer defenses thanks to Lena's insider skills, hacking security feeds, disabling alarms, and timing patrols. It felt like every second we lingered, the walls closed in tighter. Inside, I found Marcus, battered but alive, locked in a small, cold cell. His eyes flickered with pain and relief when he saw me. "James. I knew you'd come." I didn't say a word. There was no time. We had to move fast. As we made our escape, alarms blared. Meyer's men poured into the compound like a flood. We fought through gunfire and chaos, adrenaline and desperation fueling every move. Then it happened, a voice crackled through the loudspeakers. "James Calloway, you think you're the hero? You're just a pawn in a bigger game. Your daughter's betrayal was the smartest move you'll ever regret." The voice froze me, cold, cruel, familiar. Cross. He'd been watching all along. In the chaos, Lena was hit. I caught her before she fell, the pain in her eyes sharp as a knife. "Go, take Marcus and run. I'll hold them off." I wanted to argue, to stay and fight, but her voice was steel. We had no choice. We fled into the night, hearts pounding, with Cross's laughter echoing behind us. That was the moment I realized the ultimate betrayal. Emily wasn't just a victim or pawn. She was working for Cross. Why? What promise or threat forced her hand? The truth cut deeper than any bullet. I had to face it. My daughter was no longer just a betrayer. She was the enemy. As we disappeared into the shadows, the world was closing in. But this fight was far from over. Emily's betrayal wasn't something I could understand in a moment, or even days. It was a wound that festered, twisting everything I thought I knew about family, loyalty, and love. After that night's escape, I finally confronted her alone. The girl who once called me Dad looked like a stranger, eyes hard, voice cold. Why, Emily? Why turn against me? Why help Cross? I demanded, fighting the anger that threatened to consume me. She looked away, her voice barely a whisper. You don't know what he promised. What he threatened. I pressed, desperate for the truth. He had my mother, she said. They took her, threatened to kill her if I didn't cooperate. I never wanted to hurt you. The truth hit me like a freight train. My wife, my anchor, my reason, was a hostage in this deadly game. Emily's words broke something inside me, but they also lit a fire. She wasn't the enemy. She was trapped, just like me. We made a shaky alliance. She gave me access to the darkest corners of Cross's empire, the secret deals, the hidden operatives, the real power brokers who pulled the strings. Cross wasn't just controlling the arms smuggling. He was manipulating the entire military-industrial complex, weapons contracts, black ops, covert assassinations. His reach extended into politics, media, and law enforcement. Emily's role was more than a pawn. She was his inside woman, forced to lie, spy, and sabotage. But she wanted out. Together, we hatched a plan to expose Cross once and for all. It meant risking everything, our lives, our family, and what little trust remained. The moment Emily and I decided to fight back together, the air shifted. From bitter enemies to uneasy allies, we forged a fragile bond built on desperation and hope. Cross's empire was vast, layers upon layers of corruption and deceit that reached far beyond anything I'd imagined. Taking him down would mean dismantling a machine fueled by fear, power, and blood. Our plan was bold, dangerous, and maybe impossible. First, we had to get concrete proof of Cross's operations, live footage, documents, testimonies from insiders willing to risk everything. Emily used her position to gather intel, feeding me details while dodging Meyer's men watching her every move. Every message was a risk, every meeting could be a trap. Lena worked behind the scenes, coordinating with David Keller to prepare the media for a synchronized exposé. The goal was to release the evidence simultaneously across all platforms, national TV, social media, print, so Cross's influence couldn't bury the truth. Marcus, still recovering but unbroken, was our eyes and ears inside law enforcement. He rallied a few trustworthy contacts who believed in our cause. But as the plan took shape, the threats grew louder. Cross sent warnings, cryptic messages, veiled threats, and even attacks aimed at the people closest to us. One night, Emily came home to find our safe house ransacked, our files gone, and a note pinned to the door, "Stop or lose everything." The stakes had never been clearer. Despite the fear, I looked at my daughter, scared but determined, and realized this fight was bigger than me. It was about reclaiming honor, protecting family, and exposing the darkness that had poisoned everything. We thought we were prepared. We thought we had a plan solid enough to finally take down Cross and his network. But what we didn't realize was just how deep the venom had seeped into the very people we trusted most. The betrayal didn't just sting, it cut through us like a knife in the dark. It began with a warning, subtle but terrifying. Marcus's contact inside the agency, someone we'd trusted for years, sent a message, "They're watching. Someone close to you has turned." We tried to dismiss it, convince ourselves it was paranoia born from the pressure. But that night, all doubts shattered. The safe house was supposed to be our fortress, a place where plans could be made, where we could regroup safely. Instead, it became a trap. Around midnight, heavy boots thundered down the stairs. The door was kicked in, and a team of armed men poured inside with military precision. We scrambled for cover, gunfire echoing off the walls, hearts pounding like war drums in a nightmare. And then I saw him, Marcus, bound and cuffed, face bruised but eyes burning with defiance, dragged away by the very people we believed were our allies. It was a gut punch unlike any I'd felt in battle. The realization hit me like a tidal wave: someone on the inside had sold us out. Someone I'd trusted with my life. I locked eyes with Emily, desperation and betrayal swirling between us. Who? I demanded. Who did this? Her face hardened, eyes glistening with unshed tears. I don't know yet. But whoever it is, they want to break us. In the chaos, just as hope seemed to slip through our fingers, a new figure emerged from the shadows, Commander Elena Brooks. I'd heard whispers of her before, an intelligence officer known for her shadow games, her reputation as a wild card who played for her own side. Some called her a mercenary in the world of espionage, others whispered she was the only one who could stand up to Cross. She stepped forward, hands raised in peace. "I'm here to help," she said quietly but with steel in her voice. "I have my own reasons for wanting Cross gone." Our instinct was to reject her. Could we trust this woman? Was she another piece of the puzzle, or just another trap? The stakes were too high to gamble blindly. But then she laid her cards on the table, intercepted communications, detailed plans of Cross's upcoming arms deal, and a network of contacts hidden even from Cross's closest allies. Proof that she wasn't just a player, she was a force. Emily studied the evidence carefully, weighing every word, every detail. The room was thick with tension. Finally, she nodded, the faintest flicker of hope breaking through her guarded demeanor. "All right," I said, voice rough but resolute. "We work with her. But one wrong move, and this ends, for good." Elena's eyes flashed with determination. "You won't regret this." With her help, we moved swiftly. She coordinated a strike against Cross's next big shipment, a clandestine deal that would have fortified his empire for years to come. Using her network, we disrupted the operation, crippling the shipment and sending a clear message: we were far from finished. The impact was immediate. Cross's men scrambled, communication lines cracked, and for the first time, his control showed cracks. But victory came at a cost. Marcus was still missing, a hostage in the shadows. And the enemies who hunted us grew more ruthless, more unpredictable. That night, I stood alone on a rooftop, city lights flickering below, thinking about everything we'd lost: friends, trust, even family. I thought about Marcus, trapped and fighting to survive. I thought about Emily, torn between fear and courage. And I thought about Cross, the man who'd stolen our lives and turned us into fugitives in a war with no clear end. This wasn't just about clearing my name anymore. It was about justice, survival, and the hope that somehow, we could reclaim what was stolen. The nights after Elena's arrival were some of the most intense I'd ever faced. Every moment was a battle, against Cross's reach, against the betrayal that still lingered, and against the ghosts of my past that refused to stay buried. Elena was a puzzle. She moved with quiet confidence, eyes sharp like a hawk's. Yet beneath that steely exterior, I sensed something deeper, a history intertwined with this fight in ways she wouldn't openly share. One evening, as Lena and I reviewed the latest intel, Elena pulled me aside. "There's more you need to know about Cross," she said, her voice low, almost a whisper. "This goes beyond arms smuggling. It's personal." She told me about her past, a career steeped in shadow wars and secrets. Years ago, she was part of a covert ops team tasked with dismantling illegal networks tied to the military-industrial complex. Cross wasn't just a name, he was the ghost they never caught, the puppet master behind a web of lies and death. "Elena, why come now? After all these years? I asked. Because Cross has changed. He's bolder, more ruthless. And now, he's got your family in his grip. Her words hit hard. I realized the stakes were bigger than I'd imagined. This wasn't just my fight or even Emily's. It was a battle for everyone who'd ever been caught in Cross's shadow. Meanwhile, the clock was ticking. Marcus's disappearance gnawed at me. Elena revealed that the compound where he was held was heavily guarded, surrounded by layers of security that only the most skilled could penetrate. We'll need a plan, she said. And a team. We gathered our few trusted allies, Lena, Emily, David Keller, and a handful of operatives Elena trusted from her covert network. The mission: extract Marcus, gather irrefutable evidence against Cross, and prepare for the final strike. Every detail was critical. One mistake could mean death, or worse, losing Marcus forever. The night before the operation, I sat with Emily. The distance between us was smaller now, but the pain was still raw. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "For everything." I reached out, gripping her hand. "We're in this together. No more secrets." We both knew the road ahead was dangerous, but for the first time in a long while, hope flickered. As dawn broke, we moved into position. The mission was a race against time, against Cross's network, his mercenaries, and the darkness closing in on all of us. The night was thick with tension as we closed in on the compound where Marcus was held. Every step felt heavier than the last, loaded with the weight of what was at stake: a friend's life, a family's hope, and the fragile chance to bring down Cross once and for all. Elena led the team, her experience shining in every move. Lena hacked security feeds, disabling cameras and alarms with surgical precision. Emily moved with quiet determination, the daughter I barely recognized anymore, no longer a pawn, but a warrior fighting for redemption. We slipped through shadows, avoiding patrols and silent alarms. The compound was a fortress, a maze of concrete and steel, but years of combat and strategy gave us an edge. Finally, we reached the cell where Marcus was kept. His face was pale, exhaustion etched deep, but his eyes lit up when he saw us. "James," he rasped. "I knew you'd come." We freed him quickly, but the escape wasn't simple. Alarms blared, gunfire erupted, the enemy was closing in fast. The corridor became a battleground. Shots echoed. Lena took a hit but kept moving, dragging Emily behind her. Elena covered our rear, exchanging fire with mercenaries who seemed to emerge from every corner. I felt a rush of anger and fear, not just for Marcus but for all of us fighting against a tide of darkness. We burst through the final gate, hearts pounding as we fled into the night. But the victory was bittersweet. Back at our safe house, Marcus revealed what he'd learned. Cross planned an even bigger operation, one that could shift power and money on a global scale. The stakes had never been higher. We knew what had to come next: a full expose, a final strike to shatter Cross's empire. The moment we had been fighting for was finally within reach. Marcus's rescue had given us the chance to expose Cross's empire to the world, but the risk was enormous. One wrong move, and everything would crumble. David Keller and his team prepared the evidence for a synchronized release. We had files, videos, financial records, and testimonies, proof so damning it couldn't be ignored or buried. Emily and I sat together, the weight of what was coming settling on us both. This wasn't just about clearing my name anymore. It was about justice for every life Cross had destroyed. At the designated hour, the exposé went live. Screens lit up across the nation, news channels, social media, streaming platforms. The truth spilled out like a tidal wave: Cross's illegal arms deals, corrupt officials, fabricated evidence, and his stranglehold on the military-industrial complex. The reaction was immediate and explosive. Outrage surged. Investigations ignited. Arrests were made. But Cross wasn't going down without a fight. Within hours, we learned Cross had vanished. His network was fracturing, but the shadow of his influence lingered like a threat. The aftermath was a whirlwind. Media frenzy, political upheaval, and the personal cost weighed heavy. Emily and I were no longer just father and daughter, we were survivors of a war few saw. But even as the dust settled, one question remained: what would come next? Could we ever reclaim the lives stolen from us? Or was this just the beginning of a new fight? The exposé shook the nation to its core. Headlines screamed about the fall of a shadow empire, while inside, the truth we'd fought so hard to reveal spread like wildfire. But with every victory, the calm is only temporary, a storm always follows. Cross was gone. Vanished without a trace. The man who had haunted my life, my family, and my honor evaporated like a ghost, leaving behind a broken network scrambling to survive. But his disappearance wasn't relief, it was a warning. Almost immediately, new threats emerged. Anonymous messages, veiled warnings, and subtle moves to silence anyone connected to us. The fight wasn't over, it was evolving. Then came the shock no one saw coming. One evening, as I sifted through the chaos of leaked documents and news reports, a message popped up on my encrypted phone. No sender ID. Just one sentence: they're coming for you. And this time, it's not just Cross. My blood ran cold. Who? What? I shared the message with Lena and Elena, and we realized something terrifying: Cross was just the tip of a far larger iceberg. His network was part of something bigger, a hidden power structure with deeper roots and darker ambitions. Emily, still recovering from the emotional battles we'd faced, looked at me with a fierce resolve. We have to keep fighting. For all of us. But I knew the fight ahead was different. More dangerous. More personal. We were no longer just exposing criminals. We were challenging a shadow government, one that would stop at nothing to stay hidden. The world had shifted beneath our feet, and survival meant staying one step ahead. The message haunted me: they're coming for you. And this time, it's not just Cross. The words echoed in my mind like a warning shot fired into the dark. Cross was gone, but what lingered was a much deeper, darker force, one I had barely begun to understand. I stared at the dim glow of the screen, Lena and Elena watching over my shoulder. The encrypted message was like a thread pulling us into a vast, tangled web. For years, I had believed Cross was the puppet master, the corrupt colonel twisting the strings behind the arms smuggling ring, the man who framed me, who stole my identity and nearly destroyed my family. But now, I knew I had been blind. Cross was a symptom, not the disease. Lena pulled up a new dossier she had been quietly compiling, a collection of leaked government documents, whistleblower testimonies, and financial records that painted a chilling picture. Deep beneath the government's polished surface existed a hidden network, a shadow government. It was a clandestine group made up of high-ranking officials, intelligence operatives, powerful businessmen, and military commanders, all working together to manipulate global events, control economies, and silence dissent. This isn't just corruption, Lena said quietly, her eyes scanning the screen. It's a parallel government with its own agenda. Cross was just their enforcer. Elena nodded grimly. And now that Cross is out of the picture, they're regrouping. That message, it's a warning, not just to you, but to everyone who's involved in exposing the truth. I swallowed hard. For years, I had fought alone, a decorated Marine turned fugitive, chasing ghosts and lies. But now, the stakes were unimaginably higher. This wasn't just about clearing my name anymore. It was about survival against a system designed to crush anyone who dared to challenge it. Emily, sitting nearby, clenched her fists. Her eyes reflected a mix of fear and fierce determination. We have to take them down. No matter what. Her words echoed my own thoughts. But how do you fight something so massive, so well hidden? We gathered in a secure location, surrounded by allies who had become family in this war: Marcus, still recovering but resolute; David Keller, the fearless journalist ready to expose the truth; Lena, the hacking genius, and Elena, the strategist who knew the enemy's tactics better than anyone. Our objective had shifted. No longer just a rescue or exposé, now, we had to dismantle the shadow government piece by piece. We started by targeting their financial arteries, exposing shell companies and fake accounts that funded everything from illegal operations to media manipulation. But this was a dangerous game. Every move was monitored. Every communication was a risk. Elena coordinated with whistleblowers within the intelligence community, brave souls risking their careers and lives to provide us with critical information. One contact handed over a list of key players, names we had never heard, powerful figures whose influence stretched from Washington to Wall Street, from military bases to international boardrooms. "These are the real people running the show," Elena said, voice low. "If we take them down, the entire network collapses." Our first strike was surgical, a simultaneous leak of financial records and encrypted emails exposing a global weapons deal involving some of the highest-ranking officials. David Keller coordinated the release, timing it for maximum impact across news networks and social media. The public reaction was explosive. Protests erupted. Investigations launched. But just as quickly, a counterattack began. Anonymous threats flooded our channels. Surveillance intensified. Our safe houses were compromised. We knew the shadow government was fighting back with everything they had. One night, as I reviewed security footage, I saw a familiar face, a high-ranking official we thought was an ally, walking into a black SUV with known operatives. The betrayal stung like a physical blow. The enemy was closer than we thought. That's when Elena suggested a bold move, confronting the official directly. It was a risk, bordering on reckless, but we had no choice. If the enemy was embedded so deeply, the only way to unravel them was face-to-face. We arranged a meeting at a neutral location, an abandoned government facility far from prying eyes. The tension was suffocating. Marcus and I arrived early, weapons hidden but ready. When the official appeared, his smile was cold and practiced. "You don't know what you're getting into," he warned. I looked him in the eye. "Maybe. But we're done running." The conversation was a carefully orchestrated dance, threats veiled as offers, secrets hinted at but never fully revealed. But then, Elena revealed the truth, the evidence we had gathered, the names, the connections. The official's facade cracked, just for a moment, revealing fear. "You have no idea what you're up against," he spat before storming off. It was a warning and an admission. We were closer than ever, but the danger had escalated. Back at our safe house, the weight of this war pressed down on all of us. Emily broke down, confessing the toll this battle had taken on her, the guilt, the fear, the isolation. "I wanted to protect Mom," she said, voice trembling. "But I never thought it would come to this." I held her, knowing that beneath her pain was a warrior forged in fire. Marcus, bruised but unbroken, reminded us all why we fought. "This isn't just about us," he said. "It's about every person crushed under their boot." We all understood, this fight was far from over. The shadow government was vast, relentless, and ruthless. But we had something they didn't, the truth. And the courage to stand against it. The deeper we dug into the shadow government, the more I realized how fragile our position had become. Every step forward was met with resistance, every revelation triggering a violent backlash. But the real danger wasn't just from outside forces, it was from within our own ranks. After the confrontation with the official, we returned to the safe house, battered but unbroken. Yet the air was thick with suspicion. Trust, which had been our strongest weapon, was beginning to crack. Emily sat apart from the group, her hands trembling as she scrolled through a list of names on her phone. "There's a leak," she whispered, barely audible. "Someone is feeding information to them." The realization hit me like a blow to the chest. In this war of shadows, betrayal was the deadliest weapon. We needed to find the mole, fast. Lena immediately went to work, tracing communications, analyzing metadata, hunting for anomalies in our encrypted network. The tension was palpable. Every message, every call could be a trap. Then came the breakthrough. A pattern in the data pointed to someone close, someone we had never suspected. Marcus looked up from his laptop, eyes wide with disbelief. It's David Keller. David. Our fearless journalist. The man who had risked everything to bring the truth to light. I refused to believe it at first. But the evidence was undeniable. He had been feeding our plans to the enemy, sabotaging our moves from within. Confronting David was a heartbreak none of us expected. He didn't deny it. I had no choice, he said, voice strained. They threatened my family. If I didn't cooperate, they would kill them. The room fell silent. Emily's face paled. The betrayal wasn't born of malice but fear, a reminder that in this war, no one was immune to pressure. We faced a choice, turn him away or use this to our advantage. Elena, always pragmatic, made the call. We keep him. But on a leash. He knows too much to be discarded. David agreed, swearing to help us from the inside, to feed false information to the shadow government and buy us time. But the damage was done. Our ranks were fractured, and the enemy was closing in. In the midst of chaos, an unexpected ally emerged. A message came through encrypted channels, a name we hadn't seen before, Isabella Cruz, a former operative with ties to international intelligence and a history of taking down corrupt regimes. Isabella reached out with an offer, resources, intelligence, and a network of operatives ready to strike back. We arranged a cautious meeting in a secluded location. When she appeared, it was clear she was a force to be reckoned with, calm, confident, and deadly. Her presence shifted the balance. With her help, we could expand our reach beyond national borders, disrupt the shadow government's international operations, and protect those we cared about. Isabella warned us, though, this fight would only escalate. The shadow government wouldn't stop until every threat was neutralized. With Isabella's support and David's uneasy cooperation, we launched a series of coordinated strikes against the shadow government's assets, financial centers, covert facilities, and propaganda outlets. The public reaction was mixed. Some hailed us as heroes, others labeled us terrorists or conspirators. Cross's network retaliated fiercely. Safe houses were attacked. Friends disappeared. Every victory came at a cost. Emily struggled to hold the team together, but the weight of betrayal and loss was crushing. One night, after a narrow escape from an ambush, she broke down. I don't know how much more I can take, she confessed. How do we keep fighting when the enemy is everywhere? I held her close, knowing she was the strongest person I'd ever met. We keep fighting, I said. Because if we don't, who will? Despite the chaos, there was a spark of hope. Elena uncovered intelligence about a key meeting between the shadow government's leaders, an opportunity to gather concrete evidence and expose them publicly. The plan was risky: infiltrate the meeting, capture proof, and broadcast it live. It was a chance to finally pull back the curtain on the darkness, but if it failed, it could mean the end for all of us. As we prepared, I looked around at the fractured, battered team, and I saw something powerful. Determination. Because no matter how deep the shadows, the truth was our weapon. And we were ready to use it. The night had finally arrived. After months of fighting shadows, of betrayal, and heartbreak, we were about to expose the shadow government for the world to see. The stakes could not be higher. This was the moment that could end everything, or destroy us all. Elena's intel led us to a heavily guarded government estate where the key players in the shadow government were meeting. It was a fortress surrounded by top-tier security, hidden from public view. But we had something they didn't expect: determination, grit, and a chance to strike from the inside. Isabella and Lena coordinated the infiltration, blending technology and old-fashioned stealth. Marcus and I were tasked with capturing the live feed, the proof we needed to stream the meeting's contents directly to millions. Emily, despite everything, stood by my side. She had transformed from the daughter who once betrayed me into the fiercest ally I could have hoped for. The mission began in silence. Every step through the compound felt like walking on a knife's edge. One misstep, one wrong move, and we'd be captured or worse. When we reached the control room, Lena hacked into the main system, overriding firewalls and security cameras. The live stream began. Inside the meeting room, the world's most powerful conspirators sat oblivious to their downfall unfolding in real time. Their whispered plans, secret deals, and corrupt ambitions broadcasted live to the world. The reaction was instantaneous. Millions watched in disbelief as the truth exploded across every screen, every device. But the mission wasn't over. Security forces swarmed the compound. Gunfire echoed. We fought our way out, hearts pounding with every step. Outside, as we escaped into the night, I looked at Emily and the team. Exhausted, battered, but alive. And for the first time, hopeful. Your role in this fight, this story isn't just mine, it's ours. If you're listening right now, you're part of this fight for truth and justice. Please like, share, and subscribe so more people can hear what's been hidden for so long. And I want to know, where are you listening from? Your stories, your voices, your support make all the difference. Together, we shine light into the darkest places. The war isn't over, but this chapter is just the beginning. Thank you for standing with me,